Well, after a very convoluted and messy first season, Legends of Tomorrow has finally seemed like it's found itself. Hey guys, remember the season premiere of Legend of Tomorrow, Season 2, Episode 1, Out of Time, and I was definitely looking forward to this premiere. Look, you guys, I really did enjoy last year's first season. I'm one of the few that's willing to bet that I don't think last year's season was just okay. I think it was actually a really well done first season. Was it a great season? No. I mean, it was very all over the place. At times, the tone shifted so many times. There were so many things that dropped, and there was so much potential they could go with it, but they just stuck to very basic storylines, and they didn't really work in the way they wanted to. But towards the end, the show really seemed like it was going to find itself, and Season 2, though, hinted that we definitely were changing things up, and I definitely was excited to seeing what the show was going to bring us in Season 2, and I have to say, that is absolutely the case. Season 2 of Legend of Tomorrow is an entirely different show so far. I mean, if you guys have seen Season 1, you probably will be very happy with this, because what this did is it took all the great elements of Season 1 and put it in this season. They realized what worked. They're realizing what we liked about this show, and I'm happy to say that. I will say this was definitely a very weirdly structured premiere. The way this was done was not at all the way I thought it was going to be done. But once I got past how weird this premiere was structured and how different it was than any of the premieres I've really ever seen the DC do, then I really got into it. And I thought for the most part this worked really well. But let's just get into this episode, because overall, I was very impressed with what I saw. We start off where, right away, things seem a little bit off. I thought this episode was going to start directly where the last one left off, us seeing the character of Rex Tyler, getting into his character. But no, we don't even see Rex Tyler to the very end of this episode. And we actually start with Dr. Nate Heywood, who appears to be our new protagonist. You know how Rip was kind of a protagonist last season? Well, Nate seems like he's going to be like the new, protagonist. He's plotting his way through security at Star City Hall to Oliver, and he tells Oliver that he needs to see him about Sarah and Ray. And in Oliver's office, Nate tells him that the Legends are in trouble. He reveals that he knows Oliver is Green Arrow, and I love the look on Oliver. This just shows how great of an actor Stephen Amell is when it comes to this character. The second that Oliver realizes, he's like, get out, get out, get out. What are you talking about? How do you know this? And he tells him that he's a historian who specializes in deductive historical instructions. He simplifies this to say he's basically a time detective, which is really different than what we saw with Rip last year. Rip was, of course, a time master, and he disobeyed. This is a lot more interesting. This is someone who is, in fact, a time detective, and he tells Oliver that he has been noticing subtle changes to history that just don't seem right. Something weird is going on, and I thought that this was really interesting. He believes that the Legends are responsible, and he believes that in 1942, before the invention of the atom bomb, one went off underwater, and it may have killed the Legends, which that's insane to know this is going on. I mean, he thinks that they could possibly be dead from what happened, and we know obviously they're not dead. I mean, the show obviously isn't going to be continuing if they're dead, but right away this took me in. I thought it was very interesting the way this was done. So they take a sub into the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of New York. They find the Wave Rider, and once they make their way on board, they find Mick in stasis in the medical bay, and they decide to wake him up to ask him what happened, because obviously they need to know what's going on. It's great to see Mick again. Definitely, I really did like seeing his character. There's no Snart this season, but there's no Len, but I did like seeing Mick back in this episode. I forgot how great Dominic Purcell was as a character, but basically, we see after a quick primer on what the Legends mission statement has been, Mick talks about a trip to the day they're meant to safeguard King Louis the third of, or something like that, the 21st, I don't remember what it was, but King Louis of France, in order to prevent him from being killed before he can conceive his historically significant son, basically is what they were trying to do, because they wanted his son to live and everything, and that obviously is a major change in history, and we see Ray, a tiny size, watches the king. Sarah poses a handmaiden to protect the queen, and right off the bat, the tone is different. I mean, it definitely seems like we're going in a much more fun direction with these characters. This episode actually does not take itself too seriously, and that's something I was really impressed by. Before, the show was very serious and had all these serious consequences, Rip's family and things like that, and that was fine, but now that we're done with Vandal Savage, I like that the show is a little bit more fun, because this team works really well together, and there's some great banter you can get from them, and I thought they did a really good job with that here. So we see just as Ray, Mick, Rip, Stein, and Jax are fighting off-time traveling assassins, the Queen seduces Sarah, the team successfully defeats the baddies, but in order to do so, Ray and Firestorm end up both appearing in broad daylight in 16th century France. So obviously that's a problem. And back to the present day, Mick reveals to Oliver and Nate and Heywood that the team had been warned away from 1942 by Rex Tyler, who disappeared immediately after. Somehow he just disappeared. We don't know what happened to him, but he left. And this definitely, like I said, it did throw me off. And I was expecting to see, pick up from them being held. My name is Rex Tyler. I'm here to help you. But no, we started off in, media rest. We didn't really know what was going on here. And right off the bat, though, that really does intrigue me. I think they did a really good job with that structure here. But the way it's structured was very interesting. I thought overall it worked really well. So team about their methods, how, they've gone too far and things like that. And then he heads to his office to check in with Gideon. Sarah follows him to argue on their team's behalf, but but as they're talking, a time quake happens, and they see that someone has dropped a nuclear bomb on New York in 1942. So they decide to go back to 1942, ignoring Rex Tyler's advice. He basically tells them straight out, look, if you change anything, it's going to have a major effect, and that there's going to be, major changes that are going to happen. So, we still don't really know what's going on with Rex Tyler, but Sarah talks to Gideon looking for information on Damien Darhk's whereabouts. Yes, Darhk is back, and I was honestly really happy with this, because I really loved Neil McDonough last season. I think that Darhk is one of the best villains Arrow's had. He just, really looking back, he was not an Arrow villain. I think he should have been a Legends Tomorrow villain. I think he would have absolutely kicked ass on Legends Tomorrow, and I really feel like they could have really switched things up. Vandal Savage would have been a very good threat to Arrow. I could really see him doing that, but Damien Darhk already works really well in here, and I like that they made him the threat in this episode. But they're looking for his whereabouts in 1942, and while she's researching, Ray comes to check on Sarah, but she sends him away. She leaves, and Stein enters. He and Ray then look into the epicenter of the timequake and figure out that just before the attack on New York, Einstein disappeared and was found dead years later. So the war lasted 2 additional years and claimed 12 million more lives. They deduce that Einstein must have had something to do with the Nazis acquiring the atomic bomb, and realize that they have to kidnap him before the Nazis can. Which, again, is absolutely ridiculous. And the episode, it definitely embraces how stupid that really is. I really like that, though. Again, it's much more sillier of a mission. This isn't, let's just make sure that nobody dies. Let's stop a bomb from going off and things like that. Yes, he has an atomic bomb, but the fun of it all is kidnapping Einstein. I mean, it's ridiculous. It really is. And I don't really remember them having missions quite like this. And they're doing a really good job with just going completely absurd with the missions, which they should. I mean, this is a show that really has no rules in terms of time, really. So Rip they do have rules, obviously, but they can really do whatever they want at this point. So Rip asks Jax to stay back during the mission and perform maintenance on the time drive, and Jax objects, and I'm like, really, Rip? After all Jax has done, you're going to tell him to stay back? Like, I really didn't understand that. But eventually relents when Rip reminds him that if they can't stop the nuclear explosion, a fully functioning time drive is going to come in handy, basically. So once they arrive in New York in 1942, the team discusses finding Einstein. They expect him to be at a cocktail party at Columbia. Sarah breaks away from the group, followed by Ray, who shrinks down so she can't see him, and at the Columbia party, Stein is surprised and disappointed to see that Einstein is kind of a dirty old man we see, which was interesting to see. I like seeing that Einstein is not the Einstein that we think of him as. You're expecting Einstein to be this great guy who's really smart and things like that, but that's not the state that Einstein's in. Einstein, seemed like a very old, just really not the state we act him to be in. I thought it was interesting the way it was done, and the interactions between Einstein and Stein are just hilarious. They did a really great job with that, and they're definitely using, like I said, Victor Garber, things like that. They're using that to their advantage, and I really did like seeing that overall. I think that was definitely very funny to see, just the interactions between them. I definitely really did enjoy, but basically, we see Mick likes it. Rip sees some men dressed in as U.S. military, but can recognize by their too nice clothes that they're actually fake. And elsewhere, Sarah's waiting in an old warehouse for Darhk to arrive. Ray shows up to prevent her from doing anything dumb because, again, he knows what she did last season. He knows the peril she got them into, and he's not going to let her do that again. But both of them are surprised to hear that Darhk's contacts are actually speaking German, we find out. So at Columbia, Stein accidentally scatters the woman that Einstein was flirting with. Mick walks Einstein away, obviously because Einstein doesn't really know what's going on, and Einstein's kind of in shock right now. And again, some funny stuff between Mick and Einstein. I really enjoyed this overall. I liked, again, that it was a little bit silly. They did a good job with that, and they really did embrace the cheese here. I thought that was definitely well done, and I really enjoyed that overall. But at the warehouse, Ray and Sarah see Darhk selling uranium. Realizing that he's tied up in the plot, Sarah's annoyed to realize that she can't kill Darhk until she knows what's going on. That also, I thought, was very interesting when we found this out. That she can't kill him until she knows really why this is happening. So, at Columbia, Mick and Stein then get Einstein to safety in spite of a minor squabble that ends with Stein having to punch out Einstein. And later in a holding cell on the board of the Wave Rider, Stein starts to geek out, but after dropping some references that haven't yet happened in 1942, Einstein realizes that the people he's talking to are in fact time travelers, and the temporal aberration remains unchanged, and Einstein reveals that his ex-wife likely has the knowledge necessary to help the Nazis, and as it turns out, Maliva Merrick, Einstein's ex-wife, has already been kidnapped, so Ray can use a suit to track the uranium, though, and bring them to Darhk. So basically, again, I thought it was interesting the way this was done, and I did, like I said, I liked Einstein working with the group. I thought it was interesting to see. But they find the Darhk, the Germans, and Merrick. Just the baddies are dragging her to a Nazi submarine. Using their powers, they pounce, but everything goes sideways when Ray's suit can't contain the radiation and disarm the bomb. Things go from bad to worse when Darhk starts to get the upper hand against Sarah. The team has to fall back, rescuing Merrick, but leaving Darhk and the bomb behind. And after delivering Einstein and Merrick to Einstein's security detail, the group returns to the ship where Rip is tracking the bomb. He asks Jax to make some last-minute modifications to the time drive, including something called a time scatter. We don't know what that is, but he needs him to do this. And underwater, Darhk launches the atomic bomb at the Wave Rider. Rip activates the time scar, which sends everyone but Rip and Mick into the time stream. And Mick, injured in the fight, wouldn't have survived the time travel, so Rip puts him in stasis. And Rip decides to go down with the ship himself. It seems that Rip has died, actually, which that was a shock. The fact they actually killed off Rip. But honestly, I think the show is better for it. Not that I didn't like Rip as a character. He, in general, though, I thought was kind of holding the show back a bit. And what I mean was he was holding the show back from being fun. You constantly had Rip beating down on them, saying, no, 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 this is not the way it's going to go. And in some points, he was kind of an asshole. I mean, yes, he wanted to protect his family, and yes, he has protected his family, but I think he did the right thing in going down with the ship. I honestly don't blame him for doing that. I'm glad the show did that, because already, like I said, Heywood is such a more interesting character. I like where they're headed with his character, and Rip just never really was all that interesting, to be honest. I don't really know. I think they could have killed him off last season. I really think they could have done that, but I thought it was interesting the way they just kind of offed him right there, and it's very quick, but again, you can tell the show is ready to move forward, and that's something I definitely really did like. So in the present day, Oliver bails out of the project, but tells Mick that Heywood, as a historian, would be ideal to help him find members of the Wave Riders crew who have been scattered to the wind of time, and that's understandable. Oliver's already got a lot on his hands, but honestly, seriously, Oliver, these recruits would have been better than the fucking recruits in the show. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna stay off of that, because this team would be better than the recruits there. It's just, it's common sense, really. He could have called them Legends tomorrow and help him out. I don't really understand that, but basically, we see that after a little research, Mick and Heywood strap in for a trip to 70 million years ago when Ray is being chased by Tyrannosaurus Rex. The Wave Rider arrives just in time for Mick to scare a dinosaur off with his gun. Here's where things get extremely confusing. I'm not going to lie, the rest of this episode was very messy. I really could not tell what was going on, and here's where I started to have some problems. I thought definitely they did a little too much in this premiere, and I think definitely the structure definitely was a bit off. I think they could have definitely handled it differently, but Stein and Jax are in England in 1821, where a young prince is about to have them executed for his amusement until the team shows up and rescues them. Sarah, of course, is about to be hanged at Salem when the team shows up. They think, she's a witch and everything. So back at the ship, there's no indication that Rip was relocated in time. They call upon Gideon to find him, as she says she can, but they play his final message for them, where he says that he will never abandon hope of seeing them all again someday. If I remember correctly, that was the message he sent to them at the end of the finale. But yeah, we definitely get the sense that Rip is coming back, but he's going away for now, and I think that's good. I want to see Rip gone for a little bit. Not that I didn't like his character, but again, he just kind of interfered at this point. He doesn't really need to be there, really. Honestly, now that his plot is over, Rip doesn't really fit into this series. He's done everything he can. He saved his family. He killed, well, he didn't kill Vandal Savage, but Savage has been defeated. He's got his family. We really don't need Rip anymore, honestly. I think that the team can function on their own, and we definitely do see that. So the team collectively agrees to keep working to save the world. They decide that the best way to keep Einstein and Merrick safe is for him to publicly acknowledge her contributions to his work in 1942, giving her the peace of security and protection that he's always enjoyed. So, on the Nazi sub, the crew turns on Darhk, who isn't interested in helping the Nazis anymore. He says that his partner wants to move things on to other things, and when the Nazis tell him this is too bad since his partner isn't here, they're suddenly all killed by a streak of red lightning. The Reverse Flash and Darhk greet one another and smile, and we do get the sense that the Reverse Flash is going to play actually a big role in the season, which I'm all for. They're using, again, this is a great way that they're using these characters. Like, the way they're using, the Reverse Flash, for example, I think is actually really well done the way they're doing it. We have the Reverse Flash. We don't know what to do with him. Let's just put him in Legends of Tomorrow. He's still a part of this series, but he doesn't really need to be in the Flash all the time. All right, let's just put him in Legends of Tomorrow. I thought overall that was pretty smart the way they did that. And just that one scene, knowing that these two know each other and they have history, that overall made me interested. It definitely made me think we are going to see Darhk and the Reverse Flash again. That definitely made me excited to see where the rest of the season is going to go. So the Wave Rider crew's trying to figure out what they should do now that Rip's not there. Stein says they have to keep working because there's still a dangerous person out there messing with the timeline. And that's true. Darhk is still out there by the end of the episode, and I do like seeing that. But then we get to the ending. We see the Wave Rider crew prepares to get out of 1942. They feel like they've done what they need to do there and that they're going to move on. But before they can leave and get back on the ship, there we see the Justice Society of America. They show up to stop them. We don't know why they're there, but that is the way the episode ends. Really great stuff overall. But let's just get into this episode because I definitely do have a lot to say about it. So this premiere was really different than I expected to be. I expected definitely to maybe be caught up a little bit more on what was going on with Rex Tyler, pick up from there, and then see what his whole deal was, and then see really where the show's going to go. But this premiere really did jump around a lot, and that was sort of a problem for me, but at the same time, I'm willing to go with it. The show clearly is so much more confident this season and definitely knows more of what it wants to be. Last year, it tried way too many things, and I think some of the things they did in this episode were really well done. Some of the things that didn't really work were some of the more jumping around things, like say, when Sarah was being burned at the stake, cut to Ray suddenly on a dinosaur. That stuff was kind of weird the way it was done. I don't really think they executed that in the best way possible. It's just very choppy with the editing. But I am all for Heywood taking over as the main character of the group. I already really do like this character. This is a historian. This is not some guy that's on a revenge mission. He's not there to just yell at the legends. He's as much as a character as the rest of them. And I really do like that. I never really felt Rip fit in with the rest of them. So I like seeing this character of Heywood. Rip is going to come back. I know that. But I hope he doesn't come back for a while. And we'll have to see when he does come back exactly what happened to him, but I think Heywood definitely is going to assume that role very well. I can't wait to see what he does. But the big question is the Justice Society of America. What do they want with them? What is really going on? Because clearly, I mean, what they're doing isn't right. They're changing minor, major events in history, and I think the Justice Society of America is definitely going to have something to say about that, and definitely I think that's going to be interesting to see where that's going to go, and I like seeing them at the end of this episode. I do like seeing that scene with Darhk and, Reverse Flash, just knowing that these two have a history, that they know each other. I really did enjoy that overall. I thought that was a very well done scene, and I really did like the way that whole thing was done. And then some of the smaller moments of the episode that were really well done. Like Sarah wanting to kill Darhk for going after, Laurel. That is something that she's going to have to deal with this season. This is a much different Sarah. I mean, Sarah, yeah, she's still her sarcastic, violent self. But at the same time, she now knows that, Laurel was killed. And she still kind of is getting over that. We definitely do see it. Just like Oliver has gone on this dark path and is now killing again, Sarah is a little bit more willing to do some things we definitely see. And I feel like she's going to end up maybe having some really dark confrontations with Darhk, but it seems like that either Ray or Mick, they're going to be the ones to really help her, and I really do like that overall. I'm looking forward to seeing really where that's going to go. Stein has a much bigger role this season already. I mean, he's actually the one that narrated the opening intro, which I thought was kind of cool the way they did that Stein was the one that did that. Definitely, that was really cool. My really only problem with this episode is, like I said, the structure of it. I thought the pacing was really off in this episode. The way they would cut to Heywood and Mick, at first it worked, but then as it went on, once they met up with the group, then it started to get very convoluted and very messy, but not nearly as confusing as it was. This is a show that is willing to let you have fun. This is a show that, like I said, is not taking itself too seriously, and they did that really well. I really did enjoy the way they did that. I thought overall I was very impressed with what I got here. And something I am also very happy about is that this season is only 13 episodes, as are most of CW shows this year. A lot of CW shows this year, you guys will see, are short in season. I think it's because people have actually complained that 22 is too many. I'm glad the show isn't doing 22 episodes. I think 16 episodes was way too much last year, and I think 13 is going to be a lot less of a hassle to get through, definitely. 16, there were so many episodes that just were so irrelevant. Like, you guys remember that episode where they had to go after that assassin, and they were all in all these different timelines? That got very confusing. This episode was like that, but like I said, it was fun. It wasn't dark. It wasn't about, just killing people. There was more going on to it, between the interplay between Einstein and Stein, Damien Darhk being back, Reverse Flash. I mean, this episode really did have it all, and I really got to commend them on that. Oliver, I did like seeing Oliver in this episode. I thought he overall played a good role. In the end, I get why Heywood wants him, but in the end, he didn't really contribute to much, except that he knows that the legends are out there, and that he can use them. But again, if I was Oliver, I would have thought, maybe I should recruit them, and see if they're better recruits, because again, the recruits are just not really doing it for me. I don't know why he picked them, but I don't want to go on a whole tangent about it. But anyways, guys, let me know what you guys thought of this premiere. Love your thoughts. And I overall was very impressed with this premiere. It was a lot different than I thought it was going to be, but I do like the more lighter tone the show is going in. I think overall it's a good tone for the show, and I think it's a good idea overall. I'm looking forward to seeing what the Justice Society of America is going to do. Vixen, I know, is definitely one of the main, well, not Vixen, but Vixen's grandmother is in this season. I'm looking forward to seeing what she's going to do. But that's it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see. Let me know what you guys thought of this premiere. Are you looking forward to this season? Did you like? Do you like where the show's headed? Do you like what they did with Rip? I'm very happy about that. But I will see you guys next, which will be for Empire, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.